Leadership Institute. Good morning. I'm so excited for our guests today. For starters, I'm Ryan Berns, the president of this amazing community. I'm so grateful for the game of lacrosse. It's done so much for my life, so much for so many others' lives. And it's our mission to empower anyone that loves lacrosse to utilize the skills that you gain from the game to ultimately be successful, live the life that you want to live. And today's guest, his name's Jordan Williams. I grew up playing lacrosse with this guy. I think
Yeah.
he's embodying the dream. He went on to play collegiate lacrosse and now is a head coach for Penn College. Jordan, can you please share with our community a little bit about how you got involved with lacrosse, where your stories ended up
Oh,
taking you to where you are today?
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Ryan. Like you said, we played club lacrosse kind of growing up together. I still remember, I think it's in my high school highlight tape, actually. I had a nice inside roll on Bernsey, and then our other buddy, Hunter Wall, just lit me up. I scored, but I still remember that. You know what I mean? And just growing up Arizona, lacrosse is not a hotbed. It's just really hot. So I got really lucky. I got family from Long Island. So my cousins picked up the stick pretty early on. I started in 5th grade. The first team I played with, I think it was the Greenfield Grizzlies. Like, I can't even remember when, like, 5th grade when it first started. And we practiced at Red Mountain. And then next thing I know, it turned into the Mesa Heat with middle school and high school with Coach Larson. And just kind of been playing since 5th, 6th grade. I started as a defenseman and then as an LSM. And they're like, you want to score too much, go play attack. And I was like, okay. So went and played attack. Graduated high school from Red Mountain in 2011. Wow. And, went to Aurora University to help start their lacrosse program. My recruiting class was the second recruiting class. So I was part of building a new program at the Division III level outside Chicago. So that was a really cool experience. I played offensive midfield. I played attack. I was a defensive liability. I was, you know what I mean? I just did it all. I was great at team defense, but horrible individual. I was a matchup nightmare, but in the wrong way. And, so graduated there in 2015 after having a really cool career. We made the Sweet 16 3 times. We won 3 conference championships. So it was really cool to be a part of a brand new program and really kind of setting the standard of what that meant. And as a player, coming in as an 18-year-old, as Bernsey, I was very shy. I think I needed to go somewhere where I got out of my comfort zone. I knew nobody, so graduated Aurora 2015, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just know I didn't want to sit in a cubicle. So I was like, I'm just going to reach out to every single Division I, Division II, Division III NAIA coach that I could that had lacrosse and say, do you have any open positions? GA, volunteer, paid. I did not care. So I had a bunch of interviews and I ended up going to Lourdes University outside Toledo. It's an NAIA program. Coach Pat Yanarelli gave me a chance and he worked me to the bone. But it was awesome because I got to do everything. Like, I had my hand in every part of it. And that really, I was like a weekend and I was like, oh, I'm coaching college lacrosse. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, I can't imagine doing anything else. I always joke with people, like, if I didn't coach college lacrosse, I'd probably sound like vacuums. Like, I'd be cold calling people, so I'm very glad I stuck with the game, but did that for 2 years, got my master's in business administration there. And then I helped start the program at Chatham University outside Pittsburgh, another Division III school as an assistant coach. I was part of the first season. The head coach actually coached me in college, so it was kind of a nice transition. I lived with him on his 3rd floor, watched his dog to help pay rent. I was doing a little bit of everything. I was working at a bagel shop, working 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day, baking bagels, Bruegger's bagels. So I was doing whatever it took to make the dream. So I was making $3,000 as a part-time assistant coach, making bagels for $13 an hour with a master's degree, coaching club lacrosse, doing private lessons, just whatever it took. And then I got a job at a real estate company while I was doing that. And luckily they worked with me. I was helping insurance with home and auto, which, as I said, I don't want to work in a cubicle. So got back into the coaching. I had an opportunity to coach at Ohio Wesleyan in Delaware, Ohio, perennial top 25 Division III team. I mean, one of the most well-known Division III teams in the country. I would say lacrosse programs in the country anyways. So I was there for 2 years. My main responsibility, I was working with goalies. I would help out on the offense. I ran the man up. I ran the box, which is awesome. You learn a lot about the game when you're running the box, and I've been doing that every year. But mainly goalies, and the one piece of advice I got from my first head coach I had, Pat Yanarelli, and why I got into goalies was he's like, if you ever want to coach at a high level, get a niche, whether it's faceoffs or goalies. And as Bernsey can can say I love shooting. So I was like, I already shoot on goalies. Like I might as well just learn how to coach them. So did that, was working with goalies. I've been doing that for 6 years. And if I could go back, I'd probably play goalie. I'm a little crazy. It's all here. So, so did that, finished my 2 seasons. It was 2 seasons because COVID obviously cut this last year short. And then this job at Penn College of Technology opened up. They were transitioning the club team to Division III. So I got hired in July 6th was my first day. I got hired early June, all the paperwork and everything. But first day was July 6th. And this is year 1 of Division III, knock on wood. We have a season, who knows what's going on. It's out of our control. And I'm a big, just whatever happens. How I react is how it works, so been here for almost 4 months now. I guess it's almost November. It's crazy how fast time goes. But it's been a really cool journey, and getting to start a program kind of as a high school kid in a middle school could, being a part of a new program then as a college, then as an assistant coach, and then now as a head coach. So I've run the gamut. I've been at the high end, I've been at the low end, but I'm glad that I've kind of had that start because, coming from Arizona, there's not a ton of great coaching. Yes, there's pockets of good coaching, and, I think coaching is coaching. It doesn't matter what sport it is, you can coach, but the lacrosse IQ is a lot that we had to teach to ourselves. And, I'm a big fan of learning by doing. You can learn without being taught. So I'm glad that I kind of had that because it helped me get to where I'm at in that sense. So that's a quick little rundown of my history, how I got into lacrosse, and kind of where I'm at now.
Jordan, appreciate it, man. It's such an awesome story to hear everything that you've done and how you got yourself to today. Now, I know we face a lot of adversity in the game. There's constant challenges, but with that, we have great success. What are some of your top pinnacles in lacrosse?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really tough question because I don't get too high, I don't get too low. I'm just kind of even keeled. But if I had on the field, the one thing, and like I said, I was at Ohio Wesleyan, but it actually, when I was a sophomore in college, we played them in the NCAA tournament. They upset Denison to get to the NCAA tournament. We won our conference, and I will tell you, they were looking past us. It was like, oh, let's go play Cortland. Like, who's Aurora? And we just came out, we punched them in the face. We upset them in the NCAA tournament. And that was just like that bus ride home when we all got on the bus. It was just like, whew, that was sick. You know what I mean? Like, no one expected that. There was probably, outside of our locker room and outside of the Aurora lacrosse community, there was probably people that thought we even had a chance. So that was definitely on the field. I did have a solid game. I didn't have a lot of great games in college. I was a role guy, but I had a couple big goals and, sparked some runs, and it was just awesome to be a part of that. And that was our first ever NCAA tournament game and our first ever NCAA tournament win. So it was like that kind of all culminated, which is pretty cool. As a coach, I would say getting my first GA spot. When Coach Iannarelli offered me the position, I was just like, I didn't know. I was just like, yeah, like that always just kind of comes back because I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't take that. Like I said, I emailed every single coach. Like, if I could find emails, I was getting you an email. And it just worked out. And I'd say that kind of that 2-year experience would be a pinnacle because I did everything. Like, I had my hand in everything, and it really showed me what being a college coach is. Because as a player, you're just like, you get on the bus, food's there for you, your stuff's there. Like, you don't realize all the logistics behind it. And, I appreciate my college coaches so much more now that I know how much they did. And especially with, ASU, with club lacrosse, like, you don't have as much support as a D3 school. So it's even more on top of those NCLA guys. So I give it up to them. So those are kind of my 2 pinnacles that come to mind with lacrosse.
I love hearing that, Jordan. Now, where are your eyes set right now? What are the next goals for you and the program?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to have a successful year in the sense of I want a group of guys, because I didn't recruit any of these guys. This is club team transitioning to Division III. So I've been saying this to them. I say this to every kid I have on campus, every family. If we make it through this year with a group of guys that are coachable, have great attitudes, and work their tails off, that's a success. I'm looking to build a program. I'm looking to bring in the right people. To me, better people will make better Wildcats, and you can substitute that. And I wish I came up with that, but I didn't. I stole that from the New Zealand All Blacks. I think it's awesome. Legacy by James Kerr is a great book. But I just want to bring in the right people. So success to me is, yes, you have a great lacrosse career. yes, you do well academically and you get into a career that you're passionate about, but more importantly, you become a better person. So my goal is to put you in positions to challenge yourself, to grow, to fail, and then grow as a young man. And what I say to every family is you're only going to get out what you put into it. So if you put in no effort in any aspect, you're not going to grow. So my ultimate goal is just have a successful year one and then keep going like that. Obviously I want to build a program, but right now I just want to get through with a group of guys that are bought into what we're building, because this is a unique time, man. Like, I picked the craziest time to become a first-time head coach. COVID, club to Division III, just first time. It's just like anything you could throw in there. I was like, let's just see what happens. So it's I would say that's my goal, very short term. I want to just get through this year with that group of guys and continue to build the foundation with who we have and who we're bringing in.
It's so important to stay present in the moment as well. And that's really what's coming up for me right now, Jordan, is focusing on what you can control as well. You said it earlier, you let what happens is going to happen, and you don't have too many highs or too many lows. It's that consistency that allows us to keep emotions out of it and make the right decisions. At the end of the day, it takes great people to make great success happen. And if you have that integrity in the heart, it starts with that foundation. You can grow from there. A big part of this conversation that I want to pivot to is around the lines of leadership and what that actually means. So for you, Jordan, what does leadership mean?
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty easy. Leading to me is serving and empowering people to grow. I think if you asked me that when I was 17, I wouldn't even be able. I'd be like, what's leadership? It's the guy who's yelling the most. But to me, it's serving people in any way that you can. Doesn't mean doing things for them. It means assisting and facilitating for them to help them get where they need to be. Put them in positions to succeed, but more importantly to fail. Because I've learned way more in the times that I failed than I ever learned succeeding. So to me, that's what it's all about: putting people in positions and empowering them to be where they want to be. I think it was Pete Carroll. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. Might have been today, actually. Just like, sports are so based on like self-confidence. So why would you do anything to take away someone's self-confidence? Like, what I mean? You should be empowering people to be the best they can be. Yes, that means holding them to a high standard, holding them accountable, but why would you break someone down? So to me, it's that serving and like ideally like transforming someone's life on the field, off the field, within any aspect, just being there for them, because that's all people need half the time anyways. So just kind of I went on a lot of tangents there, but that's, I would say, service and empowering people.
I love that idea of being able to serve, empower, and find what individuals' goals are and then allow them to accomplish that. And I think it ties into the pillars of your program. Do you mind sharing that with the rest of the community that may not be familiar?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 3 pillars for building this program are service, gratitude, and grit. To me, service is the most important, whether it's me cleaning up the bus after a road trip, a junior, senior setting up or cleaning up the field, or just community service efforts. It's approaching situations with how can I help instead of what can this do for me? And I'll tell you, when I was 17, didn't have that mindset. When I was a sophomore in college, probably didn't have that mindset. It takes perspective shifting events to do that, to realize there's more to life than the game of lacrosse. Lacrosse is the cherry on top of the sundae. I hate them, but it's the metaphor everyone understands, so and you even mentioned before I don't know if we were recording yet, like, I learned so much on the lacrosse field that I'll never learn in a classroom, and vice versa, and it's just about team dynamics. So service is the first pillar. Gratitude, yes, it's being appreciative for what you have, being grateful for what you have, but it's a growth mindset. Everything's an opportunity. If we fail, what can we learn? We succeed, what can we learn? This situation sucks, what can we learn? It's approaching that and being like, well, this sucks, but what can I take from this? Like we said before, controlling the controllables. You control attitude, effort. Everything else happens to you. You have the choice to be upset, to be happy, to be sad, whatever it may be. Obviously, some things are going to be a little bit more difficult to control that, but you always have the ultimate choice. If someone says something that you don't like, you have the choice to be offended or upset about it. Or you let it roll by. So gratitude, it's being appreciated for what you have, but it's growing with every opportunity that you have. And then grit, the last one, it's having a positive or a passionate dedication towards a goal, whether that's academic, career, lacrosse, whatever it may be, and the book that I got this from that I still have is Grit by Angela Duckworth. It is awesome. I recommend that book to everyone. It is a long book, and honestly, it took me way too long to read. And I guess I didn't show much grit in reading it because I took a couple breaks. But it's choosing toughness. It's choosing the difficult right over the easier wrong. And obviously with the types of majors that we have, you look at it, we're very construction trade, we're very hands-on. They used to joke our degrees were recession proof, but you look who's been working the last 8 months, like our majors produce those essential careers. So I think it's a natural fit, that one specifically, for the type of kid we're bringing in anyways. That blue collar, let's get to work. Like instead of a hard hat, which every college lacrosse team seems to do, we're using a welding mask for the guy who is working hard every week, because our most popular major at this school, in my opinion, is welding. Like, what I mean? On our team, it's welding, automotive technology, construction trades, construction management. Like, it is insane the amount of different majors that we have that are just going to bring in that type of kid. So those are the 3 pillars that we're building off of. Like I said, service to me is the most important. It took a lot for that to happen for me. It is a journey. It takes a lot of reflecting, but it was not something that was important. My freshman year of college, my senior year of high school, anything, it just takes different events happening to you and your kind of reaction to them that helped me get there.
And the idea of the perspective shifting events is so huge. You get those on the lacrosse field, and they aren't life or death situations. They may feel like it in the time when you're an 18 to 21-year-old young man or woman, but in reality, you can look back at those situations now, realize what you've learned, and be able to move forward and truly be successful. Now, you mentioned the welding mask. Yes. I want you to talk about the other award that you have, the Woody Award, because I absolutely love this, and I'm giving you this one today.
Oh, absolutely, man. So the Woody of the week, it is a Woody doll from Toy Story. And because the grit really kind of coincides with the welding mask, that toughness, that you're building. We call that the builder of the week, the guy who's building our program, who's doing everything he can to build the program. The Woody of the week kind of, it has the service. It's how can I help? How can I be a good teammate? What can I do? So it's for the best teammate of the week. It's you got a friend in me, so that is kind of where that came from. I was tossing around a few ideas with my college roommate, and he's like, yeah, just give someone like season 1 of Friends. Like, you got to, you know what I mean? Like, I'll be there for you kind of thing. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like my group of guys they probably don't watch Friends. I barely watched it, and I'm almost 28. But like, so I was like, Woody, like everyone knows Toy Story. And then I was driving, and that's where I do all my thinking when I'm driving. And it was just like, that popped in my head. I was like, okay, like I'm selling out on this. Like, they either like it or they don't, but I like it. So we're seeing what happens. So it's the couple times we've given it out, it's been good, as you can imagine.
I think that's so great, because it's something you can do with your team, but at all levels, they have some sort of awards. Whether it's a corporate like KFC, they gave out these little fake rubber chickens for people that were being successful, because it's just something funny and it keeps people motivated, and it's there. Yes. And it's strengthening those values that you have. And I think that's extremely important. I was listening to your other interview the other day of Meet the Coach, and you talked about not only your pillars, but you also mentioned time management is a huge skill that you get. So I want you to talk on that, but also leadership development. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, because I think it's so important.
Yeah, I mean, time management to me is the most important skill. Like, if you can't manage your time effectively, I don't care how smart, how capable you are of anything, you're not going to be successful. Unfortunately, time is there. You have to deal with it. You cannot control it, So with that, like, how I help develop time management is I overload your schedule with different things. Whether it's academic meetings, whether it's study hall, whether it's different community service, it's making you find ways to make things work. And you're either going to sink or you're going to swim. If you sink, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help. I'm here to serve you. If you swim, awesome, man, you're growing up. You know what I mean? And, with that, like my freshman year of college, we had 8 hours of study hall a week. I thought that was insane. I studied for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I watched Netflix for 6 hours. Like, you know what I mean? So like, I don't want to overload you to where you're like, coach, this sucks. Like, I want to overload you just a tiny bit, so you have to manage that time. In the sense of leadership development, like I said, I stole this from Jamie Monroe. You can learn without being taught. And that is in all aspects. That doesn't have to be lacrosse specific. That's everywhere. And that's why I love our education, because it's hands-on. You're going to do, and you're going to figure out if it works or not. We're going to play a lot of games where you're going to make a ton of decisions and a lot of failure. and you're going to figure it out. If you fail 6 times doing something, the 7th time, sooner or later, you're going to figure it out. You're going to be like, oh, that doesn't work. Maybe I should try something else. So whether that is on the field, whether that's having discussions, getting guys talking, getting guys vulnerable, putting guys on the spot, just different ways to get guys talking. You what?
I love that, man.
Yeah, man. I come from teachers. Like, I wanted to be a teacher originally. Both my parents were teachers. Grandpa was a teacher and a principal. Grandma was a teacher. So, like, I have no problem with awkward silences. I have no problem calling people out and making people uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Because I needed that. When I was 17, I would have hated getting called out like that. I did hate it, but that helped me get out of my shell and kind of grow up. So, with that, it's a lot of different situations, just talking. We have leadership book club, talking, discussing. I probably should shut up a little bit more in our book club and let guys talk a little bit more, but I'm still learning. It is a process, but just putting guys in situations to figure things out, give them constraints, but don't give them rules. Figure this out on your own. And, that could be academics, life, lacrosse, whatever it may be, but just letting people figure things out, because that's how it's going to stick. That's how I learn.
And it all ties together, because you need that grit to try that 7th time. You need to be having that service mindset and that gratitude to be able to show up big for your teammates, to be able to read those leadership books, to be able to be humble enough to face that awkward silence and go,
yes,
you know what, someone actually is holding me accountable for my own thoughts. Because so often we're just looking at, whether it's a cell phone and looking at social media or whatever someone's telling us, and we do that rather than think for ourselves to be able to act. And that's the cool thing about having a foundation and having good role models around you, which you can get from books, coaches, so many community efforts. And that's what's just bubbling up for me right now, Jordan, which is terrific. If you could give advice to the current high schoolers, even middle schoolers, that want to play lacrosse at the next level, what advice do you have for those guys?
Yeah, kind of 2 things. So first one, in the sense of wanting to play, have a desire to play at the next level, and I'll tell you, there is a level for everybody. I played Division III, probably could have played a lot of MCLA, could have played some low D1, some D2, but I found a good fit for me. Just like you probably could have played Division I, Division II, Division III. You could have, but you wanted Arizona State. So having the desire to play at the next level, there will be a place for you. No matter what your skill level is, no matter what your commitment level is, there will be a place to play college lacrosse. So if you want to, just starting with the desire to do it. The second part of it, this has always stuck with me, and Berkman used to drill this in my head: shoot overhand. Now, that was, but, good on the field. No matter what position it is, good sticks will find the field. It does not matter if you are the smallest guy. If you have a good stick, you will find a way onto the field. You're the biggest guy, you will find a way. That's the one thing you can control about lacrosse. You can hit the wall. You can challenge yourself. You can improve your stick. You can't change how tall you are. You can't change how much you weigh to an extent. You can't make yourself faster, to an extent. So just having a good stick, and I promise you will find a field. And typically, if you have a good stick, you're probably going to be a pretty smart lacrosse player too, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you're going to work on your stick, you're probably watching film. You're probably asking questions. You're probably, you know what I mean? So I'd say have a good stick. You'll find the field somewhere, man.
So true. And it's something that is the hard part of lacrosse as well, because those are the little things that suck that we don't want to do.
Yep.
But those are the things that make such a big impact. That's grit. Exactly. And grit leads to impact. And when it comes down to impact, I'd like you to share a little bit more about team impact as well, and how you all like to be involved with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Team Impact is the coolest organization. It pairs boys and girls with chronic serious diseases with collegiate athletic teams. The unfortunate part is, it has to be if there's a match in the area. So we don't have one right now. They know that I'm interested, that the team has expressed interest in having a match with the men's lacrosse program. But at my last job at Ohio Wesleyan, I got us involved, and it was just the most rewarding. I hate calling it community service, because it's not, because Gabe, which I'll talk about in a second, he was doing just as much for us as we were doing for him. It's the perspective shifting events. Like, you're worried about your classes and your practices, and you're busy. Well, they can't play, like it's tough. Like, you're like, oh, coach, I don't want to practice. Well, there's plenty of people that can't even pick up a lacrosse stick, or pick up whatever it may be, so you draft a young man or a young woman depending on, and they come to practices, games, team events, team dinners. They're part of the team. It gives them a sense of normalcy, a sense of belonging, because realistically it's relationships. Like when I look back at my time at Aurora, yes, we had a lot of fun on the lacrosse field, but it's the weddings I've been in, the weddings I've been to, you know, hanging out with those guys, those relationships. I mean, like you, Bert, like we've known each other since probably 8th grade, and like we haven't talked much, but it seems like we didn't skip a beat. You know what I mean? So it's the relationship. So it's giving that opportunity to kids that might not have that because they can't participate in sports, you know? So that is one that organization I want to get involved in, but it's, you know, it's out of my control. If there's a match, there's a match, but I will try every semester, every year until we get one. And I will keep pestering them until then.
I think that's again, the grit at the end of the day, and it brings perspective to both parties at the end of the day. But most times when you're a collegiate athlete, you may not have faced that adversity, or I'm sure there are definitely some kids that have faced tremendous adversity. Others have just kind of coasted and gotten to that position, and that was something for myself. But I realized there's a lot out there, and being able to give back, I think service is a big way that you can start to gain that perspective and realize just how fortunate we are. And that keeps you grateful, that keeps you hungry, and that keeps you wanting to bring it up to the next level. So Jordan, I really appreciate you sharing all of this with us and the community. What can we do for you right now? Is there anything we can help with?
No, man, there's nothing. I'm just glad that we had some time to pop on here. Like you said, it's been a while since we've connected, so it's cool. like I said, I'm a pretty low key guy. I don't eat much. I just staying busy, getting guys to campus, just recruiting practices, you know, so it's been good, but I do not need anything. You know, I am good to go.
Well, brother, really appreciate you. We'll definitely make sure that at the very least, anyone who's interested in reaching out and learning more about Penn College will have all your contact info. That way they can say, hey, and learn a little bit more. I think you've done a tremendous job of sharing your values, and it's something that all young men should aspire to grow themselves. So thank you so much, Jordan, for being part of this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, man. Have a good one.